My husband, my son Greg, and I live in Quillam Beach in beautiful Sunshine Coast, Queensland. Um, just a little bit about us. We used to live in Dubai where we worked, and I went to Scotland and had my beautiful boy there. And when he was about 4 months, we moved to Melbourne, Victoria, where Jeff was working. And when he was about 6 months, he was diagnosed with Dandy Walker syndrome, which is similar to cerebral palsy, and uh, and transmission disorder in his brain. He's got quite a lot of complications. Um, the doctors pretty much wrote him off, but we did intensive therapy with him for years. And now I've got a 31-year-old beautiful boy who is just living life to the fullest. He takes part in a lot of activities. He goes sailing and surfing and swimming. He still has the intellect of a preschooler, so he doesn't understand a lot, but he does understand the world around him. And he has a very, very expressive face, and his expressions always let you know whether he's happy or wants something or sad. He's a happy personality, which makes my job a lot easier. But it's been a long journey, a very hard, long journey. Years and years spent in hospitals, operations, and to see him in pain was very hard. I have an older son who's 2 years older to Greg, who his name is Keith. Jeff's job took him overseas a lot, so I was left with the two kids. And at that time, I had no choice but to just do. So I put myself on the back burner and gave my older son everything he needed, and took Greg everywhere, did everything. And obviously, there came a point where I was burning out, and got diagnosed with depression and anxiety, and had to go on medication for that. I still see a psychologist, which helps me a lot. Um, but yeah, at the moment, looking after Greg is my full-time job, which I absolutely love. When I had Greg, I always found that even though he looked normal, I found that there was something not right. And he cried a lot, and I would go to the hospital, and they would tell me I was an overreacting mom. He's just colicky. But then he just got ill and cried a lot. So when he was 6 months old, I actually went and sat in the emergency department and refused to go until a specialist saw him. And then the specialist who saw him said, "Now we got to admit and do all these tests." And of course, when they did the brain scan, the doctor, the neurologist that told me about Greg's diagnosis, did not explain anything. She pretty much walked up to me and said, "Oh, your son's got a severe disability. There's not a lot he's going to be able to do." Started chatting with somebody else and left. So it took me a couple of days to actually find out what they were talking about. And I was very, very confused because I did not know what um, the implications of his diagnosis was, what Greg was going to be like. Did he have a certain lifespan even? Or so my world obviously came crumbling down around me big time. We had no family or friends. We just moved to Melbourne, and it was just my older son, and my husband was overseas. And I just cried and cried and cried. But I had to, I don't know how, pull out the strength because my son needed me. Yeah, I think a lot of parents like me, when they're first told the diagnosis of your child, it's confusing because at that stage you don't know, especially cerebral palsy, this much or this much. Is he going to be able to do this much, or is he just. So the doctors pretty much told me he's going to be a vegetable. Okay, that one minute they tell me they don't know what Greg will be able to do or not, and then they tell me he can't do this and this. So when Greg was yeah, I was it was a rough year. The first year was very, very rough. I was sad, but I was also very angry. I was like, the why me came out a lot. And since then, I've changed my mind about the why me. It's like, why me? Why did I have to have this child? And a lot of guilt. So running through the pregnancy times, did I do anything wrong? Did I do, even though the doctor said to me, no, this disorder is like a genetic disorder, and would have happened no matter what. But I was still beating myself up a lot. And so it was a lot of mixed emotions, anger and guilt, and guilt for having had a child with special needs, and then having my old 2-year-old having to put up with me running to the hospital at 4 a.m. And so I was very depressed, very angry. But because I had the two little children, it was a bit of a blessing, because I had no time to feel sorry for myself. I had to move, I had to get things done, I had to do. In the back of my head, I just kept refusing to accept it. So there was a bit of not accepting the reality. So I pushed and worked very hard. For the first year, I went and did something called conductive ed therapy, and they believe it's possible to do, and that's why Greg is what he is now. So we did therapy 5 days a week, every day, every week. And when he was about a year old, we put a tiny piece of hot cross bun in his mouth. And before that, it was pureed food. And he chewed the hot cross bun, and he was looking for more and more. So I started cooking soft foods and feeding him. And when I told his doctor about it, they would not believe me. So the next time I took some food and fed him, and they were blown away, because they really believed Greg needed to have the peg and be tube fed. And today, Greg enjoys every single meal we have, stir fries and roasts and curries. Oh, he just loves food. And then also, I used to use a standing frame and put AFOs on his feet and get him to stand. So although Greg can't walk now, he actually stands for transfers and things like that. So even until now, we do standing every week. And the swimming and everything helped him a lot. So he can't use his hands, but he eats well, and he stands for transfers. So I find the doctors were a bit wrong, writing him off as a vegetable. So if a mother who's just been told your child is so severely disabled, please don't give up. Please don't take every word the doctors tell you. You know your child, you got to know your child, and you fight as hard as you can. And the rewards are so great, so great. And the hard work pays off. So there was a dark phase of my life, which yeah, I started to drink. So I would buy a bottle of wine. I became an organized drunk. I would make sure my kids were all bathed and fed and put into bed, and then I would start drinking. And then the next morning, I would feel terrible and terribly guilty for drinking, and I would say, "No, never again." And then a day or two would pass, and I would do the same thing again, and it became quite the habit. And I was very angry at myself. There was a day when my little boy was asleep, but my older boy was awake, and I had a hangover, and he was only about 5 years old. And he made me a piece of toast and brought it to bed to me, because I'd been ill. And that was a turning point for me. I was like, what am I doing? I've got these little gorgeous kids, and what am I doing? So I just cried. I think I cried all day that day. I cried and cried and cried. But then got myself together and I went through the yellow pages and looked for AA meetings. And I took myself off to AA meetings, and that helped me in the beginning. But then I was also dragging me down. So I stopped going, but I gave up drinking. So that was in 1998 when I stopped drinking. But the thing was, even though I felt very proud of myself and I felt good for having done that, I think a lot of my fears and anxiety that I had suppressed and trying to be strong and then masking it with the drinking, all that started to come out. So I became very depressed. I was not the smiley, bubbly person anymore. I did just what I had to do, and I would just cry, and I even had some dark thoughts at some stages. Then that scared me again. And again, after a few days of crying and whatnot, pulled myself together and I took myself to my GP and I talked to him about what I was feeling. So he put me on antidepressants. And in the beginning, it worked for a few months, but I was still not okay. So again, I went through the yellow pages and I found La Trobe University ran psychology clinics. So I took myself off once a week to therapy, and that was the thing that saved me, and that's why I'm here today. I had the best psychologists. They were very young. They were just finished their degrees and not going to go out into the world, but they were wonderful. So we did cognitive behavior therapy, and I really owe my life to them because I went to dark places quite a few times. And I actually believed my kids would be better off without me. My husband would be better off without me. I wasn't a good wife. I wasn't a good mother. And doing the therapy taught me that to value myself and to fight for what I have and love. And yeah, and that's why I am here talking to you today. I talk about it because you know, there are a lot of mums out there and dads who get to that stage where you're so depressed and you're in that dark hole and you just can't climb out of it. Even if you've learned, had therapies and you have all these tools, you just haven't got the strength to pull it out. And it's a scary place to be. And a lot of people get addiction to alcohol, drugs, whatever, because we just have no outlet. We have nowhere to go. We have no solution. And we don't have many people teaching us how to deal with having a child with a severe disability. It doesn't come with a handbook from the hospital, you know, so you're just thrown into this thing, and you have, everyone has to find their own pathways of how to survive. It becomes a matter of survival, and if you can overcome that, you can find pleasure in life, you can find happiness and contentment and love. So so that's why I'm not ashamed to share my story about my addiction to alcohol. And I had to go through that, and I had to go through therapy, and I still have therapy because I still have the days when I'm depressed, when I'm anxious, what's going to happen to Greg if I die. And so I still have to go to the psychologist, and I still have the odd dark days, you know, and that's, I think that's pretty normal. I sometimes put too much on myself, and it might put too much expectation on myself. And I think a lot of parents do that. They feel like they have to be this perfect mom, this perfect dad, and it's not possible. It's not humanly possible, because we're all fragile, you know, and and that's why support, again, we all need some support. We all need a little bit of a safe place we can go to at some stage to give us that reassurance that we're worthy human beings. Didn't even know if there was any support, and I kind of pushed away. My family all lived overseas. Both my husband and my family are very conservative, and so they don't talk a lot about things like this. So it's always hard to talk to them. So I would just say, yeah, we're all well, and that's it. I didn't think of seeking support for myself, but I also from friends. But I don't think there was a lot of support out there unless I personally went and paid and did something. Until NDIS came 2 years ago, I had no help for Greg either, so I was 24/7 everything. So now with the NDIS, I have a couple of support workers who come and take him out a few hours during the day, and he goes with them to respite once a month, so I get my break. As carers, we love to take care of our children. We don't want to put them in a home. We don't want to send them anywhere because we want to do it. But we're getting older. My Greg is 31 and I'm 62 years old. And the body's taken its toll. And if we have more support, we can keep our children with us for a lot longer. Which actually will save the government a lot of money in the end, because it costs them more if we send our kids into a shared home or something like that. Special needs mums, we do get a bit lost with other parents and other friends. I lost a lot of friends from my older son's school. I had mums who were friends of mine. But along the way, we do get a bit lost because we might get invited to something and we can't go on that day because Greg's ill or something, or I'm not well. And then the invitations dry up and slowly you get to stop seeing people. So I think for me, being a full-time carer, one of the things is isolation. I feel very isolated. And I would love to be able to socialize. I used to be a bubbly social person and I miss that side of me. I really want to go and meet other parents, have a laugh, have a cry, and share our stories. And I would love to see some more support for carers. And I know there are a lot of young carers as well out there who struggle and need a lot more support than us because we've been there. But older carers as well, I think the isolation comes in and that anxiety and the depression sets in. I give a lot of credit to that to my husband because he's a very strong man. And when I even gave him the news about my son being, he just said, well, that's what's happened and we have to learn to deal with it. And I was very angry with him. And he used to say, whenever I used to say, why did this happen to us? Why us? And he would point out, but why not us? Because look at people around in the world. Everyone's got a different problem. And so it could happen to anybody, and it has happened to us. It's a fact. And you can't change. It's not like, oh, I'm fat and I just need to lose weight so I can go and do something about it and I can exercise and feel better. You can't change that Greg's got a disability. I can't change it. I can't change his brain. So I have to go with, okay, he's beautiful and I have to accept, but it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't come easy, but I had to learn the why not me, because when I take Greg to therapy, I meet other parents with children with a disability, and I think, look, yeah, there are a lot of other people in the world who have the same thing. So if I won the lottery, I wouldn't say, why me? I would be, yay, you know. So I got a son with a disability, and I just learned to accept, why not me? I had to learn it. It really didn't come easy. So for tips, it's quite hard for me to say. There wasn't any one thing. I had to learn the why not me thing. Because when bad things happen to us, anything bad, if I get diagnosed with a certain disease, if I go around saying, why me, it's not going to help the situation. It's not going to make it better. You're going to wallow in that, just get caught in that rut, which is not healthy. It's very negative. So when you can accept the why not me, it makes things better, because then you're ready to move on, and you're ready to make that why not me, and accept it, and make that situation a better situation, a happier situation, a more acceptable situation. And I think you have to work at that. It does not come overnight. It does not come just like that. You have to self-talk a lot and think positive, and think, look, I have this beautiful boy. Every time I take him out, people compliment and say, what a beautiful smile, what a gorgeous boy. And I'm proud. So yeah, why not me? And it took a lot of work to accept the why not me. But once I did, I am so proud of to be my son's mother. I am so, so proud. You know, I can't tell you enough of how proud I am of my boy, and how I've raised him, and how I have fought for him, and where we are today makes me very proud of myself, which is hard for me to say. I really have to thank my husband for that, because he's very strong. He's a very strong person. And at that time, I was angry with him, because I wanted him to be angry. I wanted him to be sad, and I wanted him to say the why me. But he was the strong one, and he helped me by trying to make me see reason, that there is no why me. These things happen. God didn't pick me, single me out and say, I'm going to give her this child so she can stop having fun or whatever. It's just, it happens. People get ill, people get cancer, people get, you know, so it happened. And so my husband continuously, repeatedly would talk to me about it. So yeah, so credit to him as well. 2 years ago, I found out about Carer Foundation, just out of just reading stuff. And I went to a retreat. This was my first one. I was very nervous, and I was very anxious about leaving Greg and going as well. But once I got there, I was just transported to this amazing, peaceful, zen, happy place. I met a couple of other mums who were also had children with a disability. So we were able to share our stories, and I felt, you know, I'm not alone. I've got other carers out there in the same position as me. And the host, Ronnie and family, were just amazing. They made us feel so welcome. By the end of the retreat, I almost wanted to say, can you adopt me? Because they were so beautiful. No one had ever cooked a meal for me, and I had these wonderful meals cooked and massaged and looked after. The 2 days spent there was for the first time in my life, actually. I was able to relax and sleep, and so I came back home so refreshed and looking forward to looking after Greg, and just really happy. And I hope to go there again and have a couple more times breaks with her, because that really does renew me. It's almost like I've been away for 6 months and had a rest, even the 2 days I was there. today I am so grateful for both my sons, my husband, and life in general, because I live in this most beautiful place, and I have these loving people around me, and I am just really grateful for that. But I'm also very grateful um, for the NDIS, because now I have some support workers, and I've got the best support workers ever. They've become family to me. So they've taken my son out for a walk right now, and they're going to look after him this weekend. So I'm really grateful for all that I have. There's not any one thing. um, I'm just grateful for what I have. So the bad days might come, but then the good days come too.